Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I am the Crypto Crow. I am going to be giving you my picks for how I'm going to be betting my karate tokens on the karate app as I attend the Karate Combat 40 in Miami, South Florida. I am very much looking forward to this event. This is all about having a good time. If you do not have the karate app yet, download it on iOS only. It will likely be coming to Android at some point in the not so distant future. But for now, if you've got an iOS phone, or you can use the app on the desktop and connect a wallet. When you register your wallet for the app, you get some free karate tokens to start off with, and basically it's only up gaming. You can't lose. There is no such thing as a bad pick, but your betting could help the winning fighter of each match with other perks and benefits associated with the win. So this is very exciting. So let's get on with my top picks for this, and basically where I'm going to be putting my karate tokens. Here we go. The main event of the evening of Karate Combat 40 in Miami, and Joshua QUAYHAGEN versus Rafael AGHEYEV. Now, Joshua is 6-2 as a welterweight, current champion, and Rafael is 4-0 as a welterweight. Now, I've been watching different videos about these gentlemen, and I have to say, there's a spot in my heart for Joshua QUAYHAGEN. Now, there are pros and cons, in my personal opinion, to each of these gentlemen, but you know, watching some of his backstory, you know, Josh is he was born for this. I mean, he was bred for this. His entire family is in combat sports, more ultimately karate dojo since he was a kid, and you know, his grandparent. I mean, there's like a legacy in martial arts throughout his family. I have a very similar kind of family situation, and I understand what that can mean. And Rafael is, I've been skipping all through some of the fight videos of Rafael. Rafael is an interesting guy because he's a smaller competitor, but he has a much stronger base. And by that, I mean, not only is he very elusive, so he's difficult to make contact with, but he uses his kind of a ground game and takedowns as a way to thwart a stand-up game plan. So I think that's where you're going to see some benefit from his size, because he's easily under kicks. He's very elusive. He's kind of fun to watch, and at the same time, he's very aggressive. So while he's elusive, he comes back at you and he tries to lay some powerful blows. And you know, with Josh has the power of the Lord behind him. So, you know, somebody who started off, you know, just competing regularly, and now he's actually a pastor. And, you know, he's a very religious gentleman. So, you know, I love guys like this who are genuine, right? And I've seen so many people in the past who kind of use their faith, and they wear their faith on their sleeve as some sort of armor against, let's just say, accusation, right? And I really feel that Josh is a very genuine guy. I've met him before I even knew anything about him, and he just came off as a very soft-spoken but confident and very nice individual. Later, I find out who the guy is, and I was taken aback. Like, oh my gosh, I was talking to the champion of the league, and he was so nice, and you know, there didn't come off an ounce of arrogance, cockiness, and to some extent, to me, not having ever seen him fight live and just now starting to dive into some of these fighters, I feel like Rafael might have a little bit more of a nasty grit to him. And Joshua may just be relying solely on talent and skill. He lost his very first debut fight and then has fought and competed and risen up ever since then to where he is now defending this belt. This is a really tough call for me. I am going to pick Joshua QUAYHAGEN as the winner of this fight, just my own personal opinion. That's who I'm betting my karate tokens on. And but I wish both of these fighters well. I wish them both the best. Rafael is a 4-0 welterweight. He's come up. It's going to be a really exciting fight to see. I am very much looking forward to it, and but that's my pick. My heart is telling me to go with Joshua because he's got so much power and a lot of talent and a lot of skill, and basically lifelong. But both of these guys are tournament champions. They've won every trophy, every medal you can think of. I mean, both of these guys are very, very rich with accolades, and the fight could honestly go either way. But I'm going to go with the power of the Lord, because I'm not very much a religious man myself, but I understand that the power can really drive you through some of the toughest moments, especially when you're second guessing your own reality after taking a heavy shot to the head. And boy, I tell you what, sometimes just having God to look up to and say, I'm doing this for you, is enough to rise up and conquer your opponent for the win. So that's where I'm putting my tokens for this fight. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you guys out there in Miami at Karate Combat 40. You're not going to be able to miss me. I'll be the only 7-foot guy towering around, just looking like a giant ogre, collecting content for YouTube and then some. All right, next up on the list on Karate Combat 40 in Miami, Samuel Erickson versus Alexander Borderbain. Now, Samuel Erickson is currently 1-1 as a welterweight, where Alexander is 2-3. So I'd give this kind of a 50-50 odd. And looking a little bit deeper, trying to find some more stuff related to these fighters, I watched Alexander Borderbain fight Gabriel Serra, and he's pretty quick. He's got some power, but he seems to kind of fade out a little bit. And he ultimately lost this fight by decision. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. It was a pretty close fight. Both gentlemen performed pretty well. And then I went and apparently Alexander is a fitness model. So he's a fitness model / karate tournament fighter, karate fighter. Overall, I'm not 100% sure, honestly, but I looked at Samuel Erickson and I thought to myself, you know what, this guy looks pretty sharp, and I didn't know anything about him. And then I started doing some more digging, and then I found this article about him basically being a martial arts influencer. And apparently he's followed by the likes of like Conor McGregor, Joe Rogan, and many others. And the guy is apparently quite impressive in the gym and in terms of like striking tutorials and things like that. But I know guys like me, I don't look so good. So I'm never going viral on Instagram for the way I might throw a punch or the way I might do much of anything, but I can still be quite lethal in the right circumstances, preferably if somebody's blind and can't see me coming. But outside of that, what you can propose or present on social media and things like that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate into a combat situation, but there does seem to be a little bit of a beef between these two gentlemen, a challenge posed a year ago, and I'm going to go ahead and play this response video by Erickson.
Alexander Borderbain, you challenged me 1 year ago to a fight in karate combat. 1 year ago I was busy with taking care of Tariq Khalifi's challenge and I couldn't fight you then, but here's what I'm ready to do. You know, and everybody knows, I have a boxing fight in Misfits, but I'm ready to come back to karate combat to fight you before my boxing fight. I'm also ready to go up to your weight class because I know you can't come down to mine. I also know that you lost your last fight to Gabriel Serra. If you lose to me, that might be your contract. You might never fight again in karate combat. Love and respect, but I'm ready to take this fight, and from today I'm ready to accept your challenge. Let Karate Combat know, let Adam know, let Andres know, and let's make this happen. June 24th, there is a date for a great event for us to fight.
And there you have it. So apparently Erickson was called out a little while back, a year ago, and he had other opportunities, other engagements that were taking up his time. I wouldn't want that to be my head personally, but when somebody's trying to punch you in the teeth while you're throwing those kicks, they're not quite as pretty. So let's be real about the situation. Now, I'm not taking anything away from this guy. He looks good. And if there's one thing I know about Asian fighters, what they lack in some areas, they make up for in others. Be that typically their cardio and conditioning is pretty good. They're generally I don't know what it is about Asian fighters, but they typically have a couple marbles loose, especially when things get really heated. They feel no pain. So you almost have to kill these guys to get them out of the cage or get them out of the ring. I'm not convinced that Alexander's going to have what it takes to do that. So my bet is going to be on Samuel Erickson. I think it's going to be a fairly even fight, but something tells me Erickson's probably going to come out with a win on this. That's just my opinion, but that's how I'm betting my tokens. All right, so we're going to go over 2 fights, one of which I think is going to be a barn burner. The other one I'm not so sure about. The first one we're going to talk about is DEIVIS Ferreras, who is a Dominican fighter who, watching some of his previous fights and kind of looking at his list of accolades and I mean, to be honest, kind of a lack thereof. He seems more like a bit of a defensive fighter. He has kind of an awkward stance. He looks unsure. He looks like kind of a. It's funny because I'm watching this stuff and I'm doing some, digging on him. And I said to myself, he looks like a 50-50 fighter. And then I go and I see his record as 3-3. And I thought, okay, he strikes me as an individual that if he were able to commit more to his technique and his aggression, he would probably get more wins. And that's just my own personal opinion. Don't hate me. But he looks like somebody who has the talent and the ability to do things, but he's very hesitant. He almost as if he's unsure of himself or what the outcomes may be. In my opinion, he needs to really commit for this fight in order to get the win. Looking at Mitchell Thorpe, he's definitely a little bit craftier, but he seems to slow down quite a bit as the rounds continue and time progresses. And he also, to some degree, feels like a little unsure. So this fight could honestly go either way. It's tough to pick a winner, a potential winner of this, but I think I would probably put my tokens on Ferreras, only because he does have a little bit more experience. I would just like to see him commit a little bit more, show a little bit more aggression, get in there. The way he stands back with his head back, it's like everything he does is like he just doesn't want to get hit. Ferreras, you're in a combat sport, brother. You're going to get hit. Let's just get used to that and dive forward and really push through. And I think if he can do that and he commit, I think he, in my opinion, may likely get the win on this. Now, EDGARS SKRIVERS and GABRIEL VARGA. This is an interesting fight because honestly, Skrivers looks like a killer. I mean, this guy, and I'm not talking about his picture. He has a very extensive background in combat sports. He's been around a little while. He's 5-1 as a lightweight. I don't know if these records are just their karate combat record or if this is somehow not that, because if I look at his Sherdog record, Skrivers has a long list of fights, and he has a winning record of like a 15-5 globally amongst all the pro combat sports he's done. And watching his fights, I mean, the guy gets after it. Like, he's not there to mess around and wait for the judges. Anytime it seems to go to the judges, though, he typically seems to lose by unanimous decision. So from what I'm seeing, I think he wants to kill you quick. And if he doesn't by the end of the fight, there's a 50-50 shot that he may lose a decision, depending on what the other fighter does. But Skrivers is crafty. He's got some talent. He's got some skills, and he knows how to use them. And he has kind of a wide variety of tools in his bag, from spinning back fists and the way he can be very elusive with strong counters, either taking you to the ground or whatever it is he's doing. So I'm kind of excited about this. I look at GABRIEL VARGA and I see him as 2-0 as a lightweight, but I see him as 1-1 in the real world. So I'm not quite sure what the discrepancy is in record. But this GABRIEL looks like somebody with a lot of talent and a lot of knowledge, but they always say those that can't do teach. And I've noticed that his YouTube channel is very informative, very educational, and he has a lot of really good insight. But sometimes what we know and what we're able to teach others that may be a little more capable or have a bit of a better mindset for actively utilizing what is learned is different. And so, GABRIEL VARGA to me is kind of unproven. He's a little untested. He has a big following. I mean, I think he has like 183,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he's a very intelligent guy, and he seems to really know what he's talking about. We just don't necessarily have a history of him performing what he teaches in real combat athletics. So I'd like to see Gabriel Varga do well. I'm just not necessarily sold on if he can translate everything he's able to teach to everything he's able to accomplish inside a combat arena. So my pick for this is definitely going to be Skrivers. Anything could happen. Gabriel Varga might basically show an upset. So I'm definitely excited for it though. So we'll have to wait and see, but my tokens are definitely going on Skrivers for this one. You know, I think these are going to be interesting fights. Damien Villa, I feel like I've seen him before in like Mike Tyson's Punch Out with a rose sticking out of his mouth, with the flamenco or whatever. I can't remember the character's name, but that's what I'm looking at right here. You know, both of these guys are, they both seem a little tentative. Like their fights are kind of slow. And I, you know, maybe that's just me. I'm more of an aggression guy. I'm more of a, like, just to get after it. And, you know, but I'm a big elephant, right? And the way I look at things might be a little different. These guys are both bantamweights. They both have some history. Nunes is 1-1. Villa is 1-2. I'm going to say that if Nunes goes a little more aggressive than I've seen, he probably stands a better chance of winning this fight. So my tokens are going to be on him. Now, if I look at KENJI GRILLON and SHAHIN ATAMOV, and please excuse me if I'm mispronouncing some of these names. I'll learn them better over time. You know, I've been seeing some GRILLON's like point tournaments and things, which watching a point tournament to me is like nauseating. I'm not gonna lie, I just can't. You know, guys bouncing around back and forth over and over just to get one little point. To me, it's counterproductive to real combat sports, especially training, but I could have it wrong. I never did it. You know, I was in boxing and Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, you know what I mean? And I did very little wrestling, more defensive wrestling, if anything. I wanted to get back to my feet. And so I'm watching the point stuff and I'm like, this makes me cringe. But his technique's pretty good. And I will say that he's pretty quick. And I think that, you know, he could pull off some good stuff. But when I look at Atamov, Atamov looks like he's ready for it. You know, Atamov looks like somebody who's ready to counter a lot of the stuff that Grillion's going to throw at him. And I can see, you know, I don't know their height differences, but I'm thinking Atamov's going to be a little bit on the shorter side. And so I can see, you know, KENJI basically throwing a lot, but Atamov, you know, being really evasive and then countering with like takedowns and things, and then maybe getting a few seconds of ground and pound over time that will likely slow Grillion down. And I'm gonna put my tokens on Atamov personally on this one. And again, you know, I could be wrong on any of these. I don't know any of these fighters thoroughly yet. I will be learning them more and more over time, but we'll see how it plays out. Jesus Lopez, 3-4 bantamweight, very little guys. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just bantamweight guys. You know, these fights typically are very fast pace. Generally, you know, both guys are going after it. There's not a lot of damage done in a lot of these fights at this weight class, but they're exciting and they can turn into fireballs quickly. So, you know, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. ILIES, MARDHI. I'm going to assume that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. Maybe I'll meet him and he can correct me. But you know, 3-4 record against a 3-3 record. Both of these gentlemen are 50-50 fighters. It could go either way. I haven't dove too much into either fighter's background yet. But you know, I'm going to go with Lopez on this only because he does have a little bit more experience, and you know, I'm just going to call it that way. You know, here's the beauty of this. You know, when you're betting your karate tokens, you can't lose. It can only go up. Only up gaming is a beautiful thing. So there are no mistakes. If anything, this is just a really cool way of starting to learn some of the fighters on the card. Karate Combat 40 is coming in June 24th. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm going to be there with bells on. I will be placing my bets on my app. If you don't have it, I would encourage you to check it out. It's a pretty daggone cool system. And, you know, over time, I can see use cases growing for this. This is all basically powered by Hedera Hashgraph, which is one of the first pretty cool real world use cases I've seen in crypto, outside of, you know, NFTs and things of that nature. So the way that they're utilizing the blockchain for betting and for this app, and just basically a fun game to bring people in, get you more involved, and get you a little more invested into the outcome of some of these fights. It's something I wish I would have been able to do years ago when I was in MMA. So until next time, guys, crow your coins. I will see you in Miami. And until then, let's just have some fun.